I say it all the time. I say it to everyone. We are so lucky to have him in this day and age, to have Steven directing this movie in this day and age, because he is very sensitive to what's going on in the world at the moment, and he understands how it affects all of us. And there's probably no one on earth who loves West Side Story more than Steven Spielberg, which I think people are going to be really surprised by that. But he is taking care of it like it's his baby. This movie is his baby, and he's taking care of us, and I'm grateful every day that he took a chance on me. It takes place in 1957 Manhattan, the West Side, and there's a really big transitional period for San Juan Hill, especially, which is where all the Puerto Ricans live in 1950s. And there is ever rampant racism, as per usual, in our world, and the people who live in these buildings are being more or less kicked out. They're being compensated, which is something we talk about at the beginning of I Feel Pretty. And throughout the whole film, we really talk about the buildings being demolished so that they can build the Lincoln Center. So it takes place in that's the climate of New York, is there's white versus Puerto Rican, a lot of fighting, and people being kicked out of their homes to build a brand new place for white people, really. I felt like Maria that day. It was really wonderful. And for that, when that first press shot came out and the world lost its mind, everybody was losing their minds over it, at this first look of what it should have looked like back then, of like the sharks are a rainbow of the Latino community. We have Afro-Latinos, we have light-skinned Latinos, we have Latinos from Puerto Rico. It's amazing. It's what it should have looked like. It's what it should always be. And I'm really glad that it was touched upon when that first picture came out. It was really significant in what we all look like and what we're all doing here. It's been really great to have her just as a reference, really. There was one day, I haven't had a lot of moments with her, I don't shoot with her very often. She's in the death scene. That's the only day I really had to shoot with her, but she was there for a couple days of rehearsal, and Ansel and I were singing the balcony scene, and after, she just looked at me and she said, "Maria lives," and that was enough for me. I was like, cool, great, stamp of approval, we can wrap, we're good, check the gate. She's very inspiring, and she's also one of the only role models a lot of us had growing up as a Latina in the industry, and she's one of the most notable. So for her to be so legendary and to give her time to us, and she's also one of our producers, which we wouldn't be here without her.
Gosh, I mean, feels like it shouldn't be allowed, that we should still be keeping it a secret, but we're very excited to shout it to the world.
I thought it was fake.
Yeah, I mean, people thought my whole trajectory was fake, and sometimes I wake up and I think my whole trajectory is fake, but it's just a testament to taking chances. You'll never know unless you try, and I certainly didn't think that anyone would ever see that video, and then all of a sudden it was just, we want you to be Maria a year later, and I can't believe it. So I had a picture of her in my locker in high school. It was the most intimidating thing in the world to walk in and see her be a real person sitting in a chair. But she offered such incredible insight to, her original process, her auditioning, and what it was actually like on set. And she was a pioneer for so many of us. I don't think I could be standing here without Rita Moreno standing there in 1961.
Absolutely. Of course, Sondheim passed. What a way to honor.
Ansel did come to see, he came to see my senior musical. My mom actually helped keep it a secret. She organized the whole thing because he really wanted to go. It was the first words out of my mouth when I got the part were, can I do Shrek? And Stephen was like, I produced the original Shrek. Of course you can do Shrek.
My company made Shrek. Sure, she can do Shrek.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, you know, high school theater is super underrated. It cultivates the love of the art for so many young people. And the fact that Stephen allowed me to do that is just a testament to the art, I think.
The perspective I like.
I actually didn't end up going because we were
didn't wind up
allowed to go. We were recording the album, and I was really scared that I was going to lose my voice and then I wasn't going to be able to perform. So today's my prom, and I think I'm queen.
Oh, of course.
Very casual. Yeah.
If this is prom, I'm your chaperone. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. This is my chaperone. He's telling me gotta go.
It's a good chaperone.
Tonight, the world is full of light.
The high bar was set by Rachel Zegler on the first day of casting. And I just kept looking and looking and looking, and she was the bar that no one reached. No one could reach as high as Rachel reached that first day.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
I cast Rachel when she was 17. She was a senior in high school when she got the part.
A committee should be organized to honor.
And I could not believe that somebody who could sing as well as that, and who looked the part of Maria. How could I be so lucky to find her on my first day of casting?
You should know better. You were in love.
Everything that Rachel sings comes from in here.
You should know better.
You know, this is just a gateway, but it really begins inside. When she began singing live on that song, tears, not just me, everybody around us, tears. It was extraordinary to watch her do that.
It's also baptism by fire, but in the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that we made this movie 2.5 years ago, before the world kind of shut down in such a crazy way, and I think there's no better time for it to be releasing into theaters.
Yeah, and we can't agree with you more with that. And
I mean, it was wild. I reacted to an online Twitter casting call from our incredible casting director, Cindy Tolan, and I sent in what I perceive to be the worst self-tape one could possibly send in. Now that I like hope it never resurfaces on the internet. I'm sure it will, and it'll be a terrible day for me online. But you know, it was a year-long audition process. I went in about 8 or 9 times over the course of 340 something days. And it finally came to that point where Stephen looked at me and said, I want you to be my Maria, and the rest is history.
Wow. I can't even imagine what that moment was.
That was one of the first things out of my mouth was, can I still do Shrek the musical at my high school? And he looked at me, and he's in our favorite musicals, and there's no one who loves West Side Story more, so we would just chat, and he used to send me all of these old films to watch, all of Carol Lombard's movies, and it was just, he's such a wonderful friend and mentor to me. Anyone who's ever loved musical theater before, getting to be in the same room as Stephen Sondheim is something that we can never forget. We can never outdo. It's something that I will certainly hold in my heart for the rest of time. There was just such a beautiful connection in knowing that when he was 24, he wrote these beautiful lyrics that lasted 64 years now.
Yeah.
And as this is my first professional gig and West Side Story was his, it's just an absolutely wonderful connection to have to someone that I love so dearly, and we miss him so desperately.
That is beautiful. And
And also the final scene in the movie is so painfully emotional. It's tragic, and it leaves you wondering what happens to Maria after the credits roll, and that's something that I've always been very interested in, and that letter that she has to send home to her dad explaining what happened in these American streets. It's a beautiful story, and Tony Kushner's script elevates it so much, and getting to play this new reinvented, she's not the ingenue you remember, and she has a lot more agency, and she's very strong, and it's very important for Latinas to see that on screen.
Instance, I was here a couple weeks ago to do press for Shazam, and the entire Shazamily and I went out to dinner, and I walked to the ladies' room, and there was a man coming out of the men's room, and he looked at me and he just went, I've just kissed a girl named Maria. And I came back from the bathroom and I walked up to DJ Catrona
And I grabbed him by the shoulders. I said, we need to leave. I brought my mom in because my mom had come into the city with me that day. And so they brought my mom in. Cindy Tolan, our casting director, was there. Her casting associate, Nicholas Petrovich, and Steven Spielberg. And I think maybe Christy McCosco-Krieger, our producer, was in there as well. And then Ansel and myself. And they brought me back into the room. They had sent Ansel and I out and brought my mom in and then brought us back in. And I put my water bottle on the floor thinking we were going to do the scene again. Hey, Rachel, you've been coming in for us for a year now, and we're just wondering why you keep showing up. You know, this is an intervention, and also you're Maria. But yeah, I stood up and they had formed this semicircle around me, and Steven just kind of slowly approached and said, I want you to be Maria. And I screamed a curse word and then said, this has been the longest year of my life, because I had auditioned from January 25th to January 9th of the next year. So it was a really long process of going in and losing hope. And it's wild, but it worked. And I'm really... This job is tough. It's long hours. It's lots of time together. It's very reminiscent of being at summer camp, and you know, it's really just those long days of getting to know each other. The movie was the historical context, and it became really important to incorporate that into every facet of the film that we could. You know, there was a neighborhood that was disappearing, and when you go back to the Shakespearean text, you don't really know why the Capulets and the Montagues are fighting. They say the fight is a tale as old as time. We can't even remember why it started. And I think it was really important to Tony and to Steven that you're aware of why they're feuding, but they're feuding for the wrong reasons. And it just gives this dramatic irony that the audience realizes that if they just had a conversation, that things might turn out a little bit differently. And they realize that they have the same common enemy and that their enemy is not each other. But with that historical context and being able to film all of it on Adam Stockhausen's incredibly designed sets, it brought the story to the walking around. And when Tony tells Maria about his history in the gang and going to jail, that was all shot at the Cloisters. There was also a couple of scenes that got cut where I'm looking at this beautiful statue of Saint Nick that got cut, but we did get to film at the actual Cloisters. One Hand, One Heart was a built
Not
set.
too far away though.
Not too far away in the basement of a church. And we were able to look at what we modeled it after when we actually went to the Cloisters, and we were like looking at it like, oh, this is really cool, because it looked so much like it. But yeah, that was really impressive. I was one out of 30,000 people who auditioned for it, and I auditioned for a year.
You auditioned for a year?
It was 9 calls.
No job's worth that, honey, all right?
No job's worth it. This one was.
Yeah.
And it was